Yo, what's going on, people? Another episode of the Ajay Rose Show. I think it's episode 6. It could be episode 7. I don't know. Basically, sorry for the delay of episode. I was ill recently. Tried out some health hacks. Some of them pissed me off. I'm not going to lie here. You know how you drink honey and lemon when you're ill? I tried to overload the lemon. So I was drinking like the equivalent of 2 lemons per honey and lemon cup. It didn't really give me the boost I wanted, and now my teeth are mad sensitive. So yeah, anyway, that's why there was no episode recently. I was ill. I'm feeling better now. I think it's episode 6. I'm pretty sure it's episode 6. Today's guest, well, what can I say about today's guest? Comedian, host of his own show, podcast producer, all-round good guy, funny guy, Luke Nixon. What are you saying, bro?
Thanks for having me, mate. That was a proper intro.
I always gas my guests up on the intro.
Sure.
Bro.
I don't think anyone said that to me in my life. That was I feel amazing. Thank you, mate. I'm sorry to hear about the lemon situation. That sounds
bro. My teeth are sensitive now.
Yeah.
Like,
you an ice cream guy? Big ice cream guy? Or?
I do like an ice. I had an ice cream before I come.
Oh, even with the sensitive teeth as well.
I was like, fuck it, man. Some things are worth.
You gotta live dangerously sometimes.
You have to live on the edge.
Yeah.
Little Haagen-Dazs, 170 calories.
Ooh. You know how to do it properly.
Come
I'm
on.
more of a tub guy myself, you know.
Small tub. It's a small tub.
Oh yeah. I'm talking big tubs. But
you have the whole one.
Yeah, well, I used to have a whole Ben and Jerry's by myself. But then I got a
Okay.
girlfriend, and you know, she's trying to rein that in a little bit.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, fish food. Do you like fish food? Are you a fish food guy?
I used to eat the fudge brownie one.
Yeah, cookie dough as well. That's a personal fave. But yeah,
Yes. Not got much on fudge brownie, but
is.
it's commendable, I guess.
It's a commendable one.
It's
yeah.
all right. But yeah, let's dive straight in. So obviously you do a couple different things, yeah. One of which is producing podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
So what goes into producing a podcast? Because everyone listens to them, but I don't know if everyone knows how they're made.
Yeah, so we had a chat before about like it's a bit weird for me to be this side of it, which is big honor to be here. But like I've been making shows for about 6 or 7 years, but usually just audio, never like video or anything like that. But my full-time job has been a podcast producer for about 4 months now. Before then, I was doing it.
Wait,
more
you've been
part-time.
making shows? Oh,
Yeah, I was doing it.
The maths
part-time.
weren't adding up,
Yeah.
but you just
Well, I'm dyslexic as well, so you got to call me out a couple
Okay,
of times.
just-
Yeah. So I usually, I made this show called Are You Feeling Funny after I left uni, which was all about basically asking comedians mind, body, spirit, and health and all that kind of thing with a Harley Street doctor. And that was just like amazing experience to make with my dad and this guy called Arnold Brown and Brian Kaplan. And we didn't have any money to make the show, but I had mics from university and a friend of mine. So we used to go into this doctor's studio and basically like kind of like hang up like a little curtain or like try and make it a little bit like this.
yeah.
And people like, you know, Jamali Maddox came and did the show, and it was all because of Arnold and his contacts. He
Okay.
was like an older Glaswegian comedian. And yeah, it was like, that was my first experience of kind of ad hoc producing. Some of those episodes did really well, and some of them are still, you know, they're all still out there. So, you know, that was my first experience making it.
So what do you do though? Like when you make a show, like what do you actually do? If you're not the one on the podcast,
Yeah,
you're behind the scenes. What are you doing behind the scenes?
I guess you have to talk to the presenter about what they want to get across in the hour. It depends.
Why didn't you ask me what I wanted to get across today, bro?
Well, you're the one asking me questions. You know, you gotta. And I didn't want to, you know, produce too much. You know,
I hear you.
leaving it all up to you
Want to
today.
have a day off. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah. So, I guess with that first show, Are You Feeling Funny? It was all about comedians talking about health. So
Mental health.
physical health, spiritual health, all of that stuff. So as long as they kind of, the presenter got that across, maybe a couple of pickups at the end. Usually it's fairly straightforward if the presenter's good, you know?
What's a pickup?
So a pickup is maybe a producer has an idea during the show at the end. So a question that might be a bit more challenging or a bit more risky that hasn't been asked, you know, it's always worth just trying to get that in at the end. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my first experience of doing that.
You ever
And-
produced a show that you don't have to say the name, but you've been doing it for years? Surely you must have produced a show that maybe you weren't so keen on.
Oh yeah, quite a few.
So what do you do then when you're producing a show and you're just like, yo, what the hell am I doing?
Well, I think not my current show I'm doing, but there has been some shows I've done in the past where it's can be there's not that natural synergy, and you sort of have to chime in a bit, or there's a couple
Impart some funniness.
yeah, you have to try and make stuff a bit more fun, because sometimes it can be a bit tense, and this for like it's got lights, it's got everything, but it doesn't feel too much, because it's in a lot of people who might watch this will be like, wow, it looks really really pro, right? But it's in a crate, like up in levels outside a comedy club.
Just revealing industry secrets.
So we can
keep some of the mystery.
Yeah, we can cut that.
No, we'll keep it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that it's got a good feeling to it rather than it being too intense.
Yeah. Also, I forgot one thing. Yeah, there's another not another segment. There's a segment at the end called "Would You Rather." I keep forgetting to promo that at the start. So if you're still listening, which I hope you are, it's only been like 7 minutes. Hopefully you're still here. But if you're still here, know that in about 20, 30, maybe even 40 minutes, maybe not 10 minutes, soon there's going to be a segment coming up. I should have promoted it at the start. It's a banging segment. I like it. Watch out for that.
That was a great, that was a great promo.
I've done my promo today. I'm gassed. Yeah. But yeah, when I was messaging Luke, like, yo, you want to come on my podcast? He was like, also, I sell radio shows. Like, make sure you ask me about that.
I'll do a big promo thing at the end. Don't worry, I've learnt my lines.
He was desperate to get this in. Like, he just crowbarred it in. I had this structure. He was like, no, fuck what you had planned. Let's talk about how I sell radio shows.
I'm not that corporate, I just want to be this sweet little guy who does jokes sometimes. He just presses the button occasionally at a show. That's all I do. That's who I am.
That does sound quite interesting, though. You sell radio shows.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, so
like in a good way, by the way. When I say what is that, it come across as I was like disgusted by that. I'm not disgusted.
I'm not agreed. You don't make a lot of I think radio shows. It's a big industry, but comedy radio for like Radio 4 and the Audible, I've got experience there selling shows because my dad is an ex-radio producer, and he basically, when I left uni, said to me, do you want to do something together? And that's where we made that first show I talked about, Are You Feeling Funny? Where it was just a couple of mics, laptop. I think we recorded it on GarageBand or something like that. And then we had to mix it properly and make it sound really good.
The default one that comes on Mac.
Yeah, the free one. Yeah.
Shout out GarageBand.
Yeah, and our friend Alex as well, he helped make it and was amazing. And then we started to think, well, this is a great show, this is a good idea, but we couldn't sell any of those shows because all the comedians had done it for free, and it would be wrong to try and make money out of it.
So you have to tell them, like, obviously first if you're selling it.
Yeah. We pitched it, but Radio 4 didn't want it, and you have to go through a round of becoming a preferred supplier with Radio 4. So not everyone can just pitch to Radio 4.
Bro, that's like the chicken and the egg.
Yeah.
You can't have this job unless you got experience. How do I get experience unless I get this job?
This is it, yeah. So we had to go through rounds of pitching, then we got accepted, and it was just like 2-man company, and my sister got involved, and we just started pitching loads. And we got a pilot called Wisebaum, which was like a stand-up comedian called Steve Whiteley. He's an actor as well, and he wrote this amazing story about being a poet and like a comedy character. Pitched it, and we sold that pilot to Radio 4, and really proud to make it. Ricky Grover was in it as well.
You've listed about 10 names, yeah, and I'm sure that they're like really reputable. I'm lost, bro. Every time you're like, we got like Adam Smith, we got Carl Singh, like all these guys. And I'm like, I'm sure they're big names. I've got no idea who they are.
Well,
Shout out them though. No disrespect, but you know when people just list their names and you got to pretend that you know them, but I can't pretend anymore.
Could you imagine if none of it was real? Could you imagine if none of it was real?
And I'm just buying every word of it.
Yeah. And then so that happened, and then the thing is, we sold that pilot, and it was really difficult to sell another pilot or get a series. So it wasn't like we made that company and then everything was great. We still had full-time jobs. This was all like done at the weekend. I was working in a pub, and then I did like events work as well as doing the radio stuff. And so the budget for it isn't there. You can't really sustain yourself unless you're a bigger production company. We were 3 people. So we made
What kind of money are we talking when you sell a show? Like, maybe you don't have to discuss the money you made from your shows, but from what you know of the industry, like, what's the like a high figure like that a radio station would pay in England? Would pay for a show
for like Radio 4 or like
anyone. I don't know all the stations, but
I wouldn't like reveal like I sound really dodgy now, don't I? I wouldn't reveal like exact figures, but depends how big the company is and if it's a series or a pilot. And like for us, it wasn't enough for any of us to like stop full-time work while we were doing it. You know what I mean?
All right, let's
So
say
I
it's a
guess
series.
if it's a series, if it's a bigger piece of work. And
Let's say a big comedian wanted to sell it. Like, I don't know, Russell Howard wanted to go to Radio 4. He
well, I'm
had a
sure that would be
series.
a different, you know, conversation. But we were making like, you know, smaller pilots and stuff like that. So
But how much can you make in theory, like realistically? Throw some numbers.
I don't know. I don't know. No comment at this time, I think. So then I've got a tissue, mate. I'm actually dripping.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
You know what? I didn't want to
It's
point it
pretty-
out that
yeah.
you're like bare sweaty
Yeah,
because I didn't want to
sweaty
be
as
rude.
hell.
But
Do I look really sweaty?
again, I'm not one to comment on another person's appearance
I
like
look
that.
am I dripping? Am I dripping badly? I think. Oh yeah. That's a real. This is the problem. I think I just look really dodgy because I sweat so much. You know.
It's like, what has that man been doing?
I
That's
know.
worn him out.
Listen, I got
so
here early.
much.
I was feeling great. I had a chat to these guys, and now I'm just dripping, mate. It's when you start talking about the numbers, I think I was like,
That's
hang
it.
on. Yeah.
He already revealed some industry secrets about where we're recording this. He's like, no, I can't do that again.
So yeah, I think when it comes to that's why I think this kind of thing is much more free, and podcasting is a lot more fun because you can do it yourself without having to commit loads and loads. I feel like this interview is really like it's more of a job interview now. It started off as, you know, and then you got me on the ropes. And
That's
now,
why I gassed you up at the start. I wanted to get
yeah, I know. This
these
is
prices out of
this
you.
is a
but
gotcha interview, isn't it? This is what it is. Yeah.
I
don't
gotcha
know.
journalism.
Yeah, this is it.
I only know that word from Dwight from The Office.
But you're a journalist as well, aren't you? Is that right?
Well, I write about video games,
yeah.
and I used to write about music.
And sport? No, was it?
Some football, but mainly like made up. Me playing video games and then writing about it, and then people commenting like, "What the fuck have I just read?" Like,
So like video games, like tomorrow, the show I produce during the day, Jimmy's Jobs of the Future. We've got the CEO of Football Manager, Miles Jacobson.
that's what I write about, Football Manager.
Yeah, so like that kind of stuff is like with podcasts, and people sponsor certain episodes to try and so that's how that sort of thing works. But with I would say that the BBC and it's a lot more traditional ways you pitch, and you have to go through rounds. Like with podcasting, it's a lot more instant. If someone wants to like support a show or try and sponsor it, it's completely different. It's quicker, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
So that how does that get me out of jail a little bit? Is that
TBC.
No.
TBC.
All right, we'll
to be
see.
decided. But yeah, obviously you're a comedian as well, yeah. So like,
I hope so. Yeah.
yeah, you are, bro. I you had me down at Brighton Fringe last year.
Was that what we did last year? Oh yeah.
I was there,
Maybe 3
flyering.
nights, yeah.
I got there like 10 minutes before the gig,
Yeah.
and there was still bare flyers. I was like, all right, cool. I
Was-
managed to get like 3 people in.
Was it at the Walrus? What was it? At the so like in the raised room, I think it was at Brighton Fringe. Yeah. It was a split bill show. Those ones are more fun to do than, you know, split. It was more like a wasn't was it? It was what do you call it? Not a variety show, but when what is it when you put on a show and you host loads of people? It's like a variety or a. It's not a split bill because that's what I'm doing this.
I don't know, bro.
Yeah,
I don't know
I don't
all the
know.
names.
Yeah, we've ruined
I
this.
don't
mate.
know the
Yeah.
names.
But yeah,
Momentum's gone.
We've absolutely killed it. Yeah, so we put on a show where the host hosted like 6 comedians at a time or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically like just a comedy night, technically in Brighton, where everyone does like 10 minutes and then one person does 20 or something.
Yeah. That was you smashed that. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
That's
yeah.
basically it. But yeah, how'd you like? What made you want to get into comedy? In it,
So I first did stand up when I was 8 years old.
8.
Yeah, and it was a village hall variety show, talent competition, and my mum's an actor, so my mum was the judge of the competition, right? So it was one of 3.
Nepotism.
Yeah, so it was rigged, right? And I still didn't win. so I did it. I went up and did my thing, and you know, I came second. I was furious, and I vowed I would always continue until I won something. You know,
Have you?
no,
since?
still not won. I've been in finals, not even come runner up yet. So I lost to a kid playing the Diablo. You know, you remember the Diablo?
No.
I've lost you again. Don't worry about
Momentum.
it. Yeah, momentum's
Out of
gone. Yeah, but yeah. So that was the first time I did it. I knew I loved it, and apparently I walked off stage. I think my dad said to me, he said, "Did you enjoy that?" I said, "Yeah, let's book it out next week and get them all back. They're going to want to see some more." So I was quite cocky as an 8-year-old. Then I didn't do it again until I started hosting events when I was in Cardiff, because I was manager of the radio station there. So I started to
How old were you then? 9?
18 or so then started hosting, but didn't know how to do comedy, and then started doing open mics, and I did a course as well.
So how old are you now?
26. Yeah.
Okay, so have you been doing it for like 8 years?
Not really. I started again when I was like 3 years ago, but like I did a little bit here, a little bit there, but like properly doing it every week, like 3 or 4 times a week. Yeah,
cool.
About 3 years ago.
Actually, I remember now when I met you at a show, and you was actually like proper nice, because I've done my set, and you were like, it was like my 3rd gig or something, my 4th gig, and he was like, bro, message me and I'll tell you some gigs to apply for. And
it was at the Boogaloo in Highgate or something like that. Yeah, you were great. Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
And you did the thing with the water bottle. I remember you took a little time in your set. You told me why you did it, which is interesting, because when loads of comedians start out, what they do is they rush all the time, and they get through the set. Like I still do that now sometimes.
Yeah,
but you had the water bottle. You had a little sip.
I kind of dropped that a bit because I didn't want it to. It felt gimmicky, innit? For those who don't know, like I used to walk on stage, deliberately pause, make the audience wait, and then I'd say something, and it would get laughter, but it just felt not very natural.
Because you know, when I had my operation with my leg, I started doing stand up again after during Christmas time. And I had a couple of competitions. People thought I was taking the piss with the operation.
It was a prop.
So I'd come on, like hobble on, and I couldn't walk because I did 2 ligaments in my ankle, and I just had this surgery for it. And people were like, "So what? Do you incorporate that into the show? Do you do a little dance?" And I was like, "Oh, dying."
Bro, why do people think that comedians just lie through their teeth? I mean, probably a lot do, and they know that like stories are embellished. But like, I make jokes about therapy, and people are like, "So go on then, have you actually been?" And I'm like, bro, if I haven't been, do you know how much Googling I would have had to have done to get them jokes? Like, this is in-depth knowledge of how therapists work. Like, you don't get this on Google.
Yeah, I feel like you'd be an interesting client therapy-wise, you know? Because you've got such a soothing voice. You've got like a deep, sexy...
therapy for them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because you've got, like, people said to you before, you've got, like, Giggs' kind of voice, you know?
I got called the Giggs of comedy, as in, like, Giggs the rapper.
Yeah, because it's on that level of deepness.
Just...
Like, I sound quite high-pitched compared to you. Do you know what I mean?
Most people do, to be fair.
All right, thanks. You could have said something nice there. You could have said something there. But that's all right. We'll just leave that there. Yeah, no worries. But yeah, I remember seeing you there, and then, mate, you just, like, cracked on. And how did you find it, like, after that first gig? Was that your first ever one, or was that your...
It was, like, my 4th when I met you.
So when did you start being like, I'm going to do it all the time? Do you know what I mean? When was that?
Pretty much after the first. Not necessarily, like, all the time. I didn't make like I tried it out, and the reason I tried it out because I thought I'd be decent at it. Like I didn't. For example, I used to like playing football. I quickly realized I'm mediocre at best at football. Like there's some things I'm not good at, so I try not to do too much of them. Innit?
In five-a-side, I'm good at the back.
I'm not even good at five-a-side.
Oh, you're not.
I'm just a liability, bro. I've retired from five-a-side football.
I feel like you'd be a good manager or like a dad at the sidelines, like yelling at kids. You know. Not maybe your kids, kids. Not just any kids. Yeah. That's weird. That was it. But like, because
you think I just turn up at parks on Sundays just yelling?
I don't know, mate. I don't know what you do in your spare time. But
to be fair, I have been to a park to watch a game, but it was my cousin.
Okay.
And it's tough, bro, because like obviously the standard's not that high, innit? And you can't like be mean.
How old was your cousin?
I don't know, like 9 or 8 or something.
So I wasn't, you know, I wasn't far off. Yeah, but if I heard you yelling at me, I'd run, mate, and I can't run very fast.
But yeah, no, I done a few gigs, and then I done the first one. I was like, I might as well keep doing it, and then here I am, innit? Just still doing it.
I think Alex Kitson, who's a great comedian, said to me, the only way to he said something like the only way to keep going at comedy, be a success in comedy, is just keep going and never stop. And that's so true. It doesn't matter what gig you're doing, where you're doing it at, as long as you're just cracking on and carrying on. There's no stopping it, you know?
Yeah. So you
got the truth bomb on the pod already. Wow, there you go.
We're getting deep.
Yeah.
Introspective.
Yeah.
I'm not even too sure what that word means, but I
think
I've used it in the right context.
Yeah, you've killed it there, mate.
So that's a good word. Yeah. But yeah, like obviously you do comedy in that. So what's been some of the better moments? We'll get to the worst, but let's start with the best.
I think the
best...
Wait,
hold on. Before you answer, you know, I don't know why, this has been playing on my mind, and it seems like a good time to just address it. You know when someone says, I've got good news and I've got bad news, what do you want to hear first? what should you say first? Do you say the good news, or do you say like, well, the good news is blah, blah, blah? Or do you say the bad news is, but the good news is this?
I reckon bad news first, because then you get that out of the way. But if you're a doctor and someone was seriously ill, you'd kind of have to tell them. Like,
you couldn't keep them like, on a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
like.
you got to give them the bad news first and then really back it up. But you've got, your kids are here,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We've cleared that up. We're going to go good news first here.
Cool. Okay. Good news was, I think the moment, because I'd never done any competitions, suck at gong shows, not a gong show guy, I get too nervous with gong shows. I feel like when you go out there, the forehead starts going. I start looking around at other people. I get anxious. But in the competitions, I'd never done one before. And then Leicester Square New Comedian was one I really enjoyed. And I think the best moment of that whole process was getting to the final. Just getting there. Because I thought that if I could just get to the semi, that would be a massive achievement. But then the moment I got to the final it was great. I'd only had like one leg at a crutch. It was the whole thing of like arriving there and feeling like for the first time, it was something that I deserved to do. I deserved to go through, and I didn't question in my mind or anything like that. I knew I was lucky to be there, and it was chance and all of that stuff. But it was the first time I thought, actually, this is great for me.
Instead of imposter syndrome weren't.
And I get that quite a lot, to be honest, with stand-up. Especially even when I'm getting laughs on stage sometimes. You get the occasional just like, oh, that's only because of this, or, But that was the first time I felt, that's all right. But yeah, that was the really good bit for me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now to the less good stuff.
Yeah, I think the worst ever gig, I think the first year of doing stand-up's really, really hard. Like the open mics, traveling all the time, being on lineups where it's like 18 comedians and you're in like 2 hours outside where you live. That's the worst bit. But the worst thing ever was when I started to get a bit better after about 2 years of doing it consistently. Went on holiday with my girlfriend to Lisbon, really romantic holiday. She was like, oh, do some comedy if you want, like knowing I wouldn't book a gig, but I had booked one. So I went to this open mic in the evening and it was like an English speaking comedy show. And I'd booked it through a friend. And the host went out and he did 25 minutes at the start of the show.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. No one was laughing.
Like for people that don't know like how the comedy show works, the host might do like 10, maybe 20, but usually just 10 or 15 to warm people up.
Yeah, and it was...
25's a lot.
It was a lot. And there was not many laughs. And he's a nice guy. I like him. We still chat. But then he looked at someone in the crowd and he was like, talking about being Brazilian. This was in Lisbon. He went, any Brazilians in here? And this guy was like, yeah, man, I'm Brazilian. He's like, where are you from? He's like, oh, I'm half Brazilian. He's like, you're not Brazilian. Don't say you're Brazilian. All right, this next comedian is Luke Nixon. And I walked up on stage and he got my name wrong. I thought, right, English speaking show. I'll just ham up the Englishness, like really push it. So I did all this stuff about Yorkshire puddings and it's just like 15 minutes of just silence, like absolutely nothing. And like I looked around and I was just like, oh, this is just the worst. Like, killed the romance of this holiday. Looked in the corner, my girlfriend was just like the only one laughing, but she was like crying with tears because she was filming it. And then like I walked off stage and she was just like, it's just so nice to not see you do well. And I was like, that's just so mean. So then like at like interval, the host was giving us free beers, which was really nice. And he was like, you guys are going? Where are you going, man? I was like, oh, I think we're gonna just like head home. And then on
the plane, not to on the hotel, we're getting on the plane out of here.
And then he said to me, he was like, one piece of advice. He was like, really funny when you say the word brav. So for me, I think it's funny, but for them, I don't think so. I was like, oh, it just that was
getting reviewed by someone that bombed.
Yeah, well, then he actually did really well for the rest of the show. So that was definitely a low point when you realise that there's like, because you feel like once you get that first 10, you're like, oh, this is great, doing 10s here and there, and you're feeling really good, and then suddenly you're doing, you bombing in place. And I think the first bomb was the worst, to be fair. And that was one of the first ones. Yeah.
I think, with like bombing, I found it kind of like, also as well, I'll just define what bombing is, because some people aren't always like aware of what that term is. And I am like Asian, so there could be some confused minds out there. But bombing's basically where you tell a joke and it's just silence. And so if you hear the word bombing, that's what we're on about. But like with bombing, I always found it like you just address it. Mm. Like every time I try something new and it don't work, I just kind of make a comment about how that didn't work.
There's different ways of like dealing with it as well, because some people get in their head about it and get really anxious about it. I'm one of those people, but I'm trying not to be one of those people anymore, because you have to do that. And when you're doing longer sets, like 20s, you're doing 15s, or even like if you're doing a 40-minute work in progress show, you've got to really be comfortable with silence. And that's something I started to really enjoy, is being comfortable with a little bit of silence, building towards something, you know, instead of being like, need a laugh here, need a laugh here. So yeah, that's something I'm trying to get better at.
Yeah, silence, dealing with silence. So I take pauses, so I'm used to the silence.
Yeah.
I drum that silence up.
Yeah.
Now, you said something interesting, though. You like a lot of traveling. Yeah, one thing that I think made comedy a bit more digestible, because when you start off, like, you are just just doing like small gigs and stuff in like in random pubs and that. But I don't really travel now. I travel, but it's for paid gigs. I don't always to like do a trial spot at a big club in another city. So I'll, and even that's like expenses or whatever. But when you say you traveled to do like open mics, I presume, like, why'd you do that? Like, because you can, if someone was start listening to this, like, yo, I'm gonna try comedy, I would again, each to their own, but I'd personally say, like, yo, if you're gonna have to do small gigs and they're not gonna always be that great, you might as well just keep it to London. I don't see a reason to be like, well, I'm going down to Mansfield today to do a 5 in an empty pub. Like,
so I think my first ever paid gig offer to do comedy was in Stockton upon Tees, which is 4.5 hours away from London, and it was £10.
Did you go?
I didn't go, but I had to get talked down from it from my mum, who was like, I was on the phone to her like, I'm gonna leave work today, I'm gonna go to Stockton upon Tees. It's like, do you know where that is? You know, and then what I started to realise is London open mics, they're great and they're wonderful, but the problem is a lot of those shows are bringer shows, so it's the comedian's friends. It's a Monday or Tuesday night or Wednesday. Don't really want to be there, so it's not really a fair test of where you want to go. So what I found is places like Cambridge and Oxford and places like that, you could get a 2-hour train to, or an hour train. There's a real audience that want to be there, and that for a younger comic is so useful. So
that is something I didn't consider.
So I loved it. I knew I wasn't going the gong route. I knew I wasn't very good at that. But going 2 hours out that way, doing a slightly longer set, doing 5, 7, 10 minutes out there, that gave me a bit more strength, I think. That. Yeah. So I also like the traveling as well. I weirdly enjoy it. Not so much anymore now, but
yeah,
you know. And I only mean in terms of I'll go if I'm getting paid now. But if as you say, if it's an open spot or a club or whatever, perfect. But to an open mic, if they give you longer, then fine, you know.
Yeah, that is a good point, actually, because it is nice to have real crowds.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if you can make one of them half-assed crowds laugh, that also means you might have some good stuff.
Definitely.
Because if they don't want to be there, really, obviously they're there, but
sometimes they're not. I mean, you know, sometimes I think the hardest rooms, I think we've done one before, which used to be a place called Cafe Mode. And it used, I think it's good now, but it used to be no audience at all. And then I remember doing a show with you. It was like 3 people, and it was Covent Garden on a Friday or Thursday night or something.
It was a Thursday night. That
was hard. But if you could make one person laugh, then that was something that you had then you could take away and work on.
I'm gonna be real. That show actually, I learned a valuable lesson. Because I remember I'd done it. I wouldn't say I bombed, but I'd say it's 1 or 2 levels above bombing. Like, it weren't like a full-on, like, yo, this guy should never hold a microphone again. But I didn't exactly, like,
do you feel those moments, though? Do you ever feel those bombs? Have you had that experience before of those kind of bombs, you know?
Yeah, bro, I done a gig last night, and no one was there. Like, it was just comics, because I thought there's going to be an audience there. Turns out there was, like, 6 people. By the time I got on, they just kept trickling off.
Yeah.
So in the end, it's comics. So it's like, and some of them have heard bare of your jokes before. I've tried new stuff as well, but I don't know if I've had like a. I think it depends on how much you write, innit? Because like if you just play, I played it safe too much, where, I just kind of do the same material because I knew it worked, but I didn't really grow in it. And then I started. Now I just. Always write now. I'm writing loads, trying out loads of new stuff. That's my new thing.
When's your time to write? When do you like when's your like preference to write? Because I've never been
time of day or
because some comedians be like, just wake up at like 6 and just get an hour in. I'm like, I can't. I'm not funny at 6 o'clock in the morning. You know.
I probably am, but I'm not waking up. At 6. No, I don't know, innit? I try and just set myself maybe in the evenings after work, come home from work, eat, whatever, shower, chill.
Nice.
I do like to chill a bit, like just to like, I need to have like a gap between work and jumping into writing just to like clear my mind. So I bang Fortnite sometimes. It's getting murked by 10-year-olds online. That's why I go down the park and shout at them when they play football. But yeah, I try and write in the evenings, and then sometimes it's like, it's a bit risky though, because when you're on a little bit of a streak and it's like silly o'clock and you should be asleep, you're like, nah, I'm in a good space right now.
I feel like I'm funniest like in the middle of the night. It's really weird. Like if I have an idea, I will get up out of bed and write it, and it's really annoying because it affects my whole cycle and whatever. But
well, going back to what we were saying though, that gig at Cafe Modi on that random Thursday, that was a good lesson, yeah, because I remember that gig, and like I said, I didn't exactly like bomb, but I didn't. It wasn't my best performance in it. And then Roman come on, and he did really well. And then it kind of made me think like, well, I can't always just blame the audience, because at first I wanted to and be like, sometimes it is the audience, innit? Like sometimes the audience are just not that great of an audience, innit? But I personally think if someone comes on and like smashes it in the same audience that you perhaps didn't smash it in, there has to be a part of you that looks at it and thinks, well, like, I have to first look at myself before I start blaming, like, oh, it was the audience, it was the microphone, it was like, you can blame all this other stuff. You have to start with yourself first. Yeah. And that's what I remember watching Roman, and he like smashed it.
Yeah, Roman's been good for so
and he proper smashed it. And I was like, Rob, or if Roman smashed it, I can't really just be like, wow, the audience were terrible, because they weren't, because they were in hysterics for him.
Yeah, they were.
It kind of toughens you up to be like, you've just got to look inwards and be like, just got to get funny. I've got to get better.
But we had the same kind of gig as well. Like we both walked out and we're like, oh my God, that gig bad.
That gig, I remember, walked out, just standing by the door at the back. Some woman walks out. Someone else was on the gig, can't remember. They were like, you were really good. And then to Roman, like, you were fantastic. And then she just looks at me and that's it, just looks at me, silence, and just walks off. Like, not even like a, nothing, just this look of disgust, and then just, But I don't always like to, I always look at myself first before I like.
That's a good place to be at though.
You have to. And then if you can honestly say, cool, I came prepared, I think these jokes are good, etc., etc., then maybe you look at external factors. But for me, it always starts with yourself. You won't get better if like you're just constantly blaming everything outside of what you do, innit? Me personally, that's what I think.
No, I believe that 100%. Yeah.
So what are you saying? Like, I don't know why I said what you're saying, but a dramatic pause.
Yeah.
No, obviously in comedy,
like, bring out something from like.
No, I got something for you.
Okay.
Like, how do you think you like stand out in comedy, innit? Because obviously, like, I think it's hard to stand out regardless of like your background, your gender, your ethnicity, your sexuality, whatever. Like, it's still like, before you even account for all of those factors, it's hard to write really good jokes to make somebody kind of like think like, oh, that's an Ajay Rose joke, or like that's a Chris Rock joke, or that's a Eddie Murphy joke, or whatever. Innit?
I think it's
like,
really
how do you, especially as like a straight white male in this industry, some might say it's harder to stand out. What's your take on that?
I think when you're a straight whitey, you're already quite privileged. You know, there's a level of privilege that comes with it. You know, that it's an easier position to start doing comedy, I think, at. But what I do think is about standing out. I think if you try and stand out, if you're doing something, you're trying to be really outrageous or all of that business, then sometimes you kind of get found out that way too. So I think being funny just starts with yourself. And if you can make yourself laugh at like 2 a.m. writing a joke after a shit day at work, then you've probably got something. And so I tend to think that's more important than worrying about being funky with your hair or dressing all in a, you see some people dress really like out there, which is great. And that could work for them. But for me, I just want to be good. And I don't really mind where I get to. I don't want to be the biggest. I don't want to be the best. I just want to be consistent and being funny. That's really important to me. And so if I can make myself laugh, that's the first thing.
Yeah. Don't know about that, if I'm being honest. Yeah, I don't know.
Why was that?
I don't know, because when you say if I can make myself laugh, that is good. Yeah, to go back to my musical brother and spirit gigs. Yeah, one thing that he always says is, like, I've interviewed him, I've watched bare of his other interviews. Yeah, one thing he always says is, like, I make music for me, innit? Like, I make music that I listen to in the car, or that my friends want to listen to, innit? I don't try and make music for, like, some commercial audience and that, innit? If his first is, like, I'm the first person who has to like it, that's important. But I also feel like you have to kind of, you could have a low bar for what's funny, is what I'm saying. I've just gone really long-winded way of saying that. Like, if your bar is low for what's funny, cool, you laugh at 2 a.m, you take that shit on stage, it might just tank.
It might do, but it's also something that at least you're not...
As well as making yourself laugh, you also have to have, like, a high, like, standard to do that, is what I'm saying. You can't just accept anything, because sometimes, like, I've written stuff where, like, I've laughed at it, and then I've sat back and thought, actually,
of course. But that's part of a wider discussion, isn't it? That's part of more like, you've got to try material, try it out somewhere. Whereas, like, if you're writing for certain subjects that you think a young London audience would love, that's great. But then if you take that material out regionally and do it, it might die on its arse. So there's two things there, isn't there? It's like writing for you, then looking out who your audience is. And the ideal thing is to write so much material that you can go out there and look, and kind of, you have to make a bit of a snap judgment. Try a line from that set, and if it doesn't work, put it back in your pocket, bring something else out. So that's why I think you have to like all your own material. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, obviously you have to, innit? Like, you're not doing it under duress. Like,
well,
nobody's forcing you to go on stage and tell these jokes.
What you say. I'm going to start doing that now in the middle of recordings. Start doing it.
But yeah, obviously you're signed to a comedy agency as well, yeah?
Yeah.
What's that like, bro?
It's I think Mirth Control are great. They're really nice. I really like being signed with them. I think it's very new to me that it happened, and it was because of the Leicester Square final that Jeff saw me. And then what happened there was, I thought I'd had a bad gig, if I'm totally honest. I came off stage. If you think I'm sweating now, oh my God, I was dripping. I was absolutely dripping. Like, I'd actually ruined the shirt I was wearing. I stank, and my girlfriend and all of her family were there. My family were there. So the drinks afterwards, I was just like, you need to give me some dehydrating. But Jeff came and had a chat with me after the shit. No, I didn't know. But then, he came and said, like, good set, like, you know, let's have a chat at some point. So I thought maybe something could happen where I do open spots for Mirth, because I tried to do open spots there before. But then, they signed me, and it was great. And they book me gigs, and that is just the best thing you could ask for as a young sort of comedian. So yeah, very lucky. But in terms of, like, I've seen a lot of my open mic friends I've been doing comedy with now for like 3 years, and they'll, like, come up to me like, wow, like, oh, you're signed. I'm like, it is pretty much similar to what it was like before. Like, I think a lot of people think your whole life changes and all when you sign to an agent, but the reality is you've still got to do loads of work, get out there and try and make something happen for yourself, like working on a show or booking gigs. Like, it's not too dissimilar as being, you know, a regular comic, like a regular open mic comic. I genuinely believe that, because unless you will get the privilege and benefits of the gigs that they book you for, of course. But there's also that element of, you've got to come up with material, you've got to do everything. It's not like, you know, everything's done for you, which I think
like, they can open the door, but you have to walk through it.
You got and I think there's loads of other people that
you can bring a horse to water.
Yeah. There we go. You're coming out with it today. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's a lucky experience for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. One more question before we get to the segment. Obviously, you run a couple gigs yourself. Yeah. You, like, talk about some of the, obviously, like, when it pops off, it's sold out.
Yeah.
We can imagine. I haven't done it, but, like, I'm guessing it's pretty, like, it's a nice feeling, right? Like, that's what people would probably, like, they could guess that bit of it. What I'm interested in is the stuff people don't see. Like, I'm be real, yeah. When we done Brighton Fringe,
yeah,
peeps were leaving, like, certain people like they'll just duck at random times. Like, they just leave randomly.
Yeah.
Like
You can't predict when it's a fringe
so.
festival.
What are some, whether it's like the Fringe or the show you run with your sister, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the things that people don't see that go into it? It can be good, can be bad, but like the non-obvious stuff.
Yeah, sure. So like for a little bit of context, Catastrophe Cabaret is this comedy and jazz gig that we used to run in Loughborough Junction. It used to be in a jazz pub, and we just came up with the idea of like putting comedy and jazz together. Everybody universally said it wouldn't work. Everyone was like, this is a terrible idea. Jazz and comedy don't mix. But our cousin is an amazing drummer, has this great band. Me and my sister get on really well and take the piss out of each other, and that's the show with 4 comedians. So we started putting it on. Initially, got a great couple of turnout for the first 2 shows, as you usually do when you're starting a show, because friends and family come and support. And then the problem was we were booking them quite regularly, and we were trying to build up a local audience. And the pub was facing closure as well. So it was this whole dynamics of trying to do shows here, but trying to build this thing up while it was in the midst of closing. I remember we booked a Mother's Day show. I think it was Alfie Packham and I think Dick Denham as well, who came to do that show. And I think maybe 15 people turned up. And that was really hard because it was like, it felt like we'd really pushed it as a gig. It was doing really well. And then it suddenly just like died. And then the pub closed as well. After we did one more show and that was great, but then the pub closed. So we had to restart again and think, where are we going to go? And actually, no one will believe me about this, but it was Christmas. It was like the 27th or 28th. And me and
how could it be Christmas if it was the 27th?
So, well, it was just like, you know, in that period.
In the period, yeah.
And we were in this pub. We were getting like Asahi's, me and my sister. And this Australian guy started taking the mick out of me. He was like, "Oh, Asahi, mate, that is just such a shit drink, honestly. Like, I just don't know why you think you can come to a bar and order Asahi, like, get a real man's drink." I was like, "Mate, can you just let me have my Asahi?" He's like, "Nah, mate, nah, that's shit, mate." And so I ordered it. And he was like, "Anyway, what do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I do comedy. I used to do this jazz comedy gig." He was like, "My pub's looking for that." And now, like, we have this residency at the Half Moon in Herne Hill, which is the nicest pub. It's a really supportive, like, team behind it. And we've built up so many people that have come to the shows. You build up like emails and you build up Instagram people and you just start messaging them and then people hear about the gig and you can book bigger people because you can start to use money that you've raised before to try and put that towards. And the thing is, you don't really make loads of money running these shows, to be honest. But what you do is you get more stage time and you get to experience it with some of your favorite comics. And that is
one of which I am not, because I've never been booked for this gig.
Well, you will be. We'll see how this podcast goes first, mate. But yeah, that's some good sides and some bad sides of it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've now arrived at the segment, Would You Rather? Okay. I've got 5 questions. They're kind of
I'm up for it.
Loosely related to you and being a comic, and some are just questions that I just thought were nice. Okay. So, question 1. Would you rather be a mediocre comedian, but you're the richest comedian in the world, or the best comedian in the world, but you have mediocre earnings? So say your earnings are whatever the UK average salary is that year, that's what you get from comedy, but everyone knows like you are the best at it. Or everyone's like, nah, that guy's dead, but you're the richest. Not dead, but like he ain't all that. He's mediocre. You're not terrible. You're definitely nothing special. Not like saying you are. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah, don't worry. I'm just trying to think what you're saying here. I would say, to be honest, I'd love to say best ever, but obviously, at the end of the day, whatever you do, everyone's always going to say he's not that great anyway. Like that's
no. That's out the window.
Oh, that's out the window.
It's universal.
Okay, I'd probably go best comedian, but not that much money. Because
Swear.
Yeah, because also like an average UK salary is not that bad, right? So
I think it's around like, I think it varies between 27 and 30k a year.
I think mediocre comedian and richest one is actually yeah, richest guy, mediocre comedian, whatever. I'll go for that second. Do I get a second chance, or is it? All right, thanks. Yeah. Cheers, mate. Yeah, thanks.
I'm laid back. I'm chill.
Yeah, you're a laid back guy. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, to be honest, basically, I feel like that question really like, do you want clout and respect from your peers, or do you want a fat stack in your bank account?
Well, no, you said you can't like deconstruct the question afterwards.
No, I can. It's my question.
Oh, it's your show. Yeah, sure. Sorry, mate. I would say I would love respect from my peers. That would be great. Yeah. If I had to choose, I would go for that. I would like.
So you're now flipping back.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a sweaty, dodgy
clout.
guy.
You want the clout.
I don't think clout is
you
money.
Want the respect.
I want money, and I also want to be good. Can you not have both?
No, not in this scenario.
Why
in
not?
real life, obviously, but in this hypothetical, you can't.
Okay, I'll go for the first thing I said, which was average UK salary.
Okay.
Being a mediocre comedian, yeah.
A guy who loves the craft.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I would take a private jet.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Next one, yeah. Cool. If you could do a gig, yeah, where if you smash this gig, you become like a quote unquote superstar. So whatever that means for you, whether that's like fame, money, whatever making it or whatever is for you, you become it if you smash this gig. But your 3 favorite comedians are judging it. So they're judging it. You can pick how long you do. You can pick where it is, and you have to do it within 1 year from this date. Would you do it? And if you don't smash it, you have to quit comedy. So basically, your choices are.
What are these questions?
Really... No, it's not that complex.
I thought it's a really nice, easy, chilled show. You just got me in the ropes here the whole time.
But I've asked this question to most comics, isn't it?
All right, yeah,
all right,
yeah,
for context,
sure.
I'll give you. All right, one comic said, "Nah, I wouldn't take the show because I'm gonna become a star anyway." Another comic said,
"Who said that? Bloody hell! I respect that."
You already know because you listen intently to the podcast. Of
course, yeah.
You're testing me with that question.
This is it. Yeah.
You knew the answer.
I knew it. Yeah.
You keep me on my toes, bro. That's why I brought you on. But it was Moosin.
Yeah.
And then I done it with Andrew Menser as well, and he was like,
"He's great.
I'd take the gig because I think I'd do well." So, would you take the gig?
What's the other choice of not taking it again?
Then you just continue on the same path you are now.
I think I'd continue, if I'm honest. If I'm totally honest, I feel like the pressure, because I bombed in front of one of my heroes. I'm bombing. Well, I didn't.
Do you think he listens to this podcast or something, bro?
Well, I won't say who it was, but it was also just someone I look up to massively.
Yeah,
they were headlining.
I mean, bro, you weren't that bad at that gig, to be fair. I was
and like, tell you what, when you're looking around the room and like half the audience is laughing, half of them aren't, and your hero's there and they're giving you advice afterwards, and that's all great. And actually, the advice was incredible and definitely changed my perspective.
What was the advice?
The advice was basically not to take it too personally and to realize that when you are going down on that shift and you are bombing, you have to look around the room and you have to make something kind of happen. Make sure that everyone doesn't have a bad time. Don't take it too personally, don't be destructive. And I think that was like, wow. So now when I'm bombing, and I feel that sometimes it happens, I'll just find something in the room to get me back on track and just realize that it's not hugely personal. And that really helped me. So I think that actually staying on the path I would now, because if I bombed in front of one of them, I wouldn't want to bomb in front of 3 of them.
No, but you pick the venue and how long your set is. Everything's in your control.
Yeah, you're right. But what did you say to it?
Well, no one's asked me because I don't feature as a guest on my own pod, but
I think you'd go for it.
I don't know. Because basically, like, you pick the set length, yeah? So and they'll judge you on that. So if you do an hour, which is long, and you're crap, obviously you're not going to pass their test. There's a real audience there, and then your 3 favorite comics are there as well. And they either say, like, yes or no, he did well or he didn't, yeah?
Yeah.
So you might pick a sweet spot of, like, 10, 15, 20-minute set. And then you pick the venue where you do it. You could technically pick the O2 Arena and it would be sold out, or you could pick like your favorite professional comedy club, or you could.
But then did you say you have to quit comedy?
If you bomb.
But I wouldn't ever want to quit, so I would take the mediocre route. I'll just carry on as I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to ever quit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. This one's probably.
Is it even hard? Does it just get harder? Is there any easy sort of like?
No, they're not meant to be easy, bro. It's not like if it was easy, there'd be no point in asking. You've got to proper think about it.
All right.
Cool. Sell out the O2 once, yeah, which is 20,000 seats.
Wow.
Or do a 200-day tour at 100 capacity venues, 200 days in a row. So you're touring for 200 days straight in front of 100 people. which after the end, it would have been 20,000 tickets sold, or you sell out the O2 once, 20,000 tickets.
I'd like the 200-day tour because I
Non-stop, back to back.
Because I like to go to loads of different places. I'd like to travel a little bit. I've never really traveled, so that would be pretty cool. Also, selling out the O2 would be massive, but you know, I feel like the 200-day tour is great. You know, because those little rooms are quite magical as well. You know, and you can get a lot of magic from 100 people. So, yeah, I don't know why. Maybe that's unambitious. I don't know. I feel like you're looking at me kind of unsure of me now. I feel like
I was unsure from minute one, bro.
Yeah, all right. Okay. Well,
I'm joking.
I'm gonna pick the 200 one.
You're gonna pick that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'd love to travel with.
This is a man who loves his craft.
Well,
loves the craft of comedy.
Hope so.
Cool. This one's a bit, you know.
Easy, or is it?
None of them are easy.
Yeah, no.
All right. You got to do every gig whilst being high or every gig whilst being drunk.
I think drunk because.
Drunk.
Yeah, I think because how drunk are we talking? Like a few beers or a couple shots? Because I think story-wise, I could probably get away with it being drunk. High, I really, you know, slow down a lot, and the timing goes, and you know. So yeah. Drunk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. As a spin-off, every gig hungry or every gig where you're dying of thirst?
Hungry, yeah, 100%.
Like you're starving though. It's not like, oh, I'm a bit peckish. It's like you're.
We used to get a free pizza at Cafe Mode if we did comedy there. I always used to take it, and you never used to take it. You know, I don't know why.
You'd pick hunger over thirst
because you get all dry, and it sounds like you're getting emotional.
Yeah, but when you're hungry, you got low energy, and your stomach hurts.
I definitely, the dry throat can do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Finally, 10 million in 10 years' time.
Oh my God.
Or 3 million today. Haha.
Yeah. Is this what you do? You just invite me just to like, all right, 3 million today. I just go for it. Yeah.
You just take that.
Yeah, just do it. Yeah.
So, okay.
I know. I should. The wise man would say 10 years.
I'd take the 10.
But the thing is, you don't know where you're going to be in 10 years' time. You know, you could die in 10 years' time.
Let's assume that for something like
you got to change the question.
No, I can.
All right. Okay.
No, as in like, let's assume that like, obviously, yeah, true. Actually, no, we won't assume that because you could, you don't know if you're going to be in 10 years.
3 years, you 3 million, buy a place. You know, that could take some pressure off the day job. You know, do more comedy. Who knows? Yeah. Okay,
it's good. Some good reasoning there.
I feel like you've agreed with none of my answers. I feel like you think that shit.
No, because I didn't think of like, obviously 10 million in 10 years sounds sick, but you don't know if you're still going to be here in 10 years.
It's true, yeah.
So, but then if you took the 3 million and 10 years did arrive, you might be like,
yeah, you'd be pissed off.
Man, I'm broke now.
Yeah.
Like,
you got to risk it, man.
Could have been balling, but
yeah.
Cool. Another section of Would You Rather. I hope that was worth the wait for you listeners that got excited on minute 7. So yeah, just tell them quickly before we go. Yeah, first of all, like, what's your socials and that? Where can they find you?
Cool. Yeah, you can find me at Luke Nixon Comedy across TikTok, Instagram, all of those spaces, Twitter as well. I don't really tweet, but yeah.
A lot of comedians say that, like, I have Twitter, but I just don't use it.
I'm not much of a tweeter these days.
Cool. What's coming next from you, bro? What can the people expect? What do you want to plug?
Yeah, so I've got a podcast coming out called Hangxiety, which is the best stories from the worst mornings after. That'll be out soon. I've got a split bill in Brighton with my friend Elliot Brown, and then I've got a split bill in Edinburgh as well with Blank Paying. So that'll be this summer. So yeah, so if you're around.
What, you going up there for a month?
Just going up for a few days, yeah. And the whole month is going to be a bit much.
It's a bit much, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be if you took 10, like,
took the 10 million. 10 million.
You could have taken
3
out
million's
loans,
not going to
bro.
stretch. Yeah.
It wouldn't have mattered.
No, you're right. If you ever invite me back on, we'll do it again.
Big if.
Oh, thanks for having me, mate.
We'll bring you back. But yeah, cool. That's it. Like I said, I think this was episode 6. I'm pretty sure it is. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, please rate that by giving it 5 stars. If you're listening on YouTube, please subscribe, like the video, comment. There's probably more forms of online engagement you can do to help, do them as well. I've been AJ Rose, and that's another episode. See you lot in a bit.
Nice one, mate. That was fun. Thank you.